Hey everyone, it's Teacher Thomas.
And Reggie!
Yeah, me and Reggie here again. We are enjoying our time on camera. Reggie is especially excited, as you can tell. But we are going to try. Okay, you can settle down. We are going to try together, right? To do a read aloud again of Edward Tulane. So last time we left off, we had just finished chapter 14, but Reggie's going to give us a little summary because we've been reading together about what's been going on so far. So Reggie, if you could, yeah, Reggie, you remember the summary?
Oh, me! Call on me!
Yeah, Reggie, you're the only one here. I'm gonna call on you. Okay.
So, Edward started off with Emily! Woo! But he wasn't very nice. So, he fell off a ship, and then he was with Lawrence and Nellie. And then his heart opened up.
Yeah, he became a lot nicer when he was with Lawrence and Nellie. He found that he was listening to them. Yeah, there's a sad part though.
Yeah. Then he was in a dump.
Yeah, he was in a dump.
Yeah. But Bull found him.
Yeah, that was really cool. Bull found him, and then he's been traveling with Bull. So now, Reggie, it's your role. This is the part where you help me to turn the page. So just get yourself ready here. Ready? Okay. We're not eating the page, Reggie. Just kind of put it over on the other side. Okay, settle back down, and we can get started. So, at first, the others thought that Edward was a great good joke. "A rabbit," the hobo said, laughing. "Let's chop him up and put him in the stew pot." Or when Bull sat with Edward carefully balanced on one knee, one of them would call out, "Got yourself a little dolly, Bull." Edward, of course, felt a surge of anger at being referred to as a dolly.
Yeah, like when people tell me I don't have a brain.
Yeah, but Reggie, look at how Bull reacts. But Bull never got angry.
Okay.
He simply sat with Edward on his knee and said nothing. Soon the men became accustomed to Edward and word of his existence. Reggie, and word of his existence.
Oh, yeah.
And word of Edward's existence spread. So it was that when Bull and Lucy stepped up to a campfire in another town, another state, another place entirely, the men knew Edward and were glad to see him. "Malone!" they shouted in unison, and Edward felt a warm surge of pleasure at being recognized, at being known. Whatever it was that had begun in Nellie's kitchen, Edward's new and strange ability to sit very still and concentrate the whole of his being on the stories of another became invaluable around the hobo campfire. "Look at Malone," said a man named Jack one evening. "He's listening to every dang word." "Certainly," said Bull. "Of course he is." Later that night, Jack came and sat next to Bull and asked if he could borrow the rabbit. Bull handed Edward over, and Jack sat with Edward upon his knee. He whispered in Edward's ear. "Helen," Jack said, "and Jack Jr., and Taffy. She's the baby. Those are my kids' names. They're all in North Carolina. You ever been to North Carolina? It's a pretty state." That's where they are. Helen, Jack Jr., Taffy. You remember their names, okay, Malone? After this, wherever Bull and Lucy and Edward went, some tramp would take Edward aside and whisper the names of the children in Edward's ear. Yes, Reggie?
Can I read them?
Sure.
Betty, Ted, Nancy, William, Sammy, Eileen, Skipper, Faith.
Thank you. Edward knew what it was like to say over and over again the names of those who he had left behind. He knew what it was like to miss someone, and so he listened. And so he listened. And in his listening, his heart opened wide, and then wider still. The rabbit stayed lost with Lucy and Bull for a long time. Almost 7 years passed, and in that time, Edward became an excellent tramp, happy to be on the road, restless when he was still. The sound of the wheels on the train tracks became music that soothed him. I got this one, Reggie. He could have ridden the rails forever, but one night, in a railroad yard in Memphis, as Bull and Lucy slept in an empty freight car and Edward kept watch, trouble arrived.
Uh-oh.
A man entered the freight car and shone a flashlight in Bull's face, and then kicked him awake. "You bum," he said, "you dirty bum. I'm sick of you guys sleeping everywhere. This ain't no motel." Bull sat up slowly. Lucy started to bark. "Shut up," said the man. He delivered a swift kick to Lucy's side that made her yelp in surprise. All his life, Edward had known what he was, a rabbit made of china. A rabbit with bendable arms and legs and ears. He was bendable, though, only if he was in the hands of another. He could not move himself. And he had never regretted this more deeply than he did that night when he and Bull and Lucy were discovered in the empty rail car. Edward wanted to be able to defend Lucy, but he could do nothing. He could only lie there and wait. "Say something," said the man to Bull. Bull put his hands up in the air. He said, "We're lost." "Lost? Ha! You bet you're lost." And then the man said, "What's this?" And he shone the light on Edward. "That's Malone," said Bull. "What the heck?" said the man. He poked Edward with the toe of his boot. "Things are out of control. Things are out of hand. Not on my watch. No, sir, not when I'm in charge." The train suddenly lurched into motion. "No free rides for rabbits. No, sir." And he looked down at Edward, and he turned and flung open the door of the rail car, and then he turned back, and with one swift kick, he sent Edward sailing out into the darkness. The rabbit flew through the late spring air. Okay, Reggie, that's enough. And from far behind him, Edward heard Lucy's anguished howl. She cried. Edward landed with the most alarming thump, and then he tumbled and tumbled and tumbled along a dirty hill. When he finally stopped moving, he was on his back, staring up at the night sky. The world was silent. He could not hear Lucy. He could not hear the train. Edward looked up at the stars. He started to say the names of the constellations, but then he stopped. "Bull," his heart said. "Lucy." How many times, Edward wondered, would he have to leave without getting a chance to say goodbye? A lone cricket started up a song, and Edward listened. Somewhere deep inside of him, he ached, and he wished that he could cry. We know that Edward has been able to meet new people, and we know that he's changing. Yeah. And it's positive the way that he's changing. He's learning to love people. It's okay to miss people and to be sad about it. Yeah. Well, we're getting into new territory, Reggie. You, me, and everybody in our second grade classes. So we'll start on chapter 15 sometime later in the week. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah! Thanks for tuning in! I loved meeting you all! Woo!
You just like being on camera. Okay. Thanks again. Reggie, can you turn us off?